Your Grace, many of our viewers may not be so familiar with the ministry of the Coptic Orthodox Church, so could you tell me a little bit about the church, its size and its ministry?
Coptic just means Egyptian, so Coptic Orthodox just means Egyptian Orthodox Church. It is the Church of Egypt. It's been there since the 1st century when St. Mark preached the Gospel and has had an unbroken presence since then. It's a mainstream church, a scriptural church using both Old and New Testaments, sacramental church. It's a traditional church in its teachings, and it is a church that takes pastoral ministry very seriously. Whether it's the individual pastoral ministry of every priest, pastoral ministry of the bishop, we are very hands-on in that because we believe that the church needs to provide that support. It becomes an extension to every home. It is the most significant Christian presence in the Middle East, representing 15% of the Egyptian population, but about 80% of the overall Christian population throughout the region. In Britain, it now represents about 20,000 faithful with 30 parishes. We don't consider ourselves a diaspora community because the diaspora community insinuates a huge exodus of Christians. 90% of Coptic Christians still live in Egypt. So the number of Copts outside of Egypt is only about 10%.
As you look at the Middle East today, I wonder, what are your main concerns and prayers for the region?
Well, of course, as we look at the Middle East, one sees a huge emptying of its Christian presence. Countries like Libya, Iraq, Palestinian territories, even Syria, where the numbers of Christians leaving are ever increasing. A few decades ago, the proportion of Christians in the Middle East was about 25%. Now it's about 5%. And so that gives you an indication. There is massive displacement, both internally but also alarmingly externally. And that's come because of a lot of pressure on the Christians. There's been a successive and increasing wave of persecution, alienation, marginalization. Of course, that has fallen on other numeric minority groups as well, but it seems to fall more aggressively on Christians. And their response has been gracious and forgiving and loving, but in some instances they have had to leave just for the preservation of their own lives and for the preservation of their families. So we recognize that, but we also pray for them. We pray for the powerful example that they're giving. We pray for the powerful witness in all that they do, both during their persecution, but also in forgiving those who persecuted them, for loving those who consider them their enemies. And we pray that they're able to live with dignity and with the freedom that God has given us all.
As you know, Sat7 has been involved in the region since 1996, and you're aware of Sat7 from its earliest days. What do you see as its role in serving the life and witness of the Church in the Middle East?
I think Sat7 has a very important role in that it is accessible in homes, it's accessible to communities. While it presents a balanced message, it will be a message that will be heard and accepted by many. And so I think there is a responsibility of maintaining that balanced message, balance in terms of Christian presence, but also balanced amongst the various denominations and expressions of Christianity in the Middle East. And I think with that and with the apparatus of being able to visit homes, speak to hearts, I think it gives a very clear Christian message, which can be a message of hope and a message of victory and a light in a darkness that tries to impose itself and tries to overcome.
Education is one area that has been central to Sat7 since its beginnings, and as you know, we are beginning to look at developing an education channel. What are your hopes for Sat7's work in the area of education and in developing this new channel?
Education is one of the greatest answers to the problems of the Middle East. While many don't have access to that education, they are able to be manipulated and radicalized. They're able to be controlled. The more we open up people's minds and we give them not only the ability to discern, but then the mechanism to actually improve their lives, have careers, input into the community, I think it's a very, very significant benefit both to the individual but also to the whole region. And I think in that sense, anyone or any organization that contributes to education plays a very significant role.
Thank you very much for spending time with us today, Your Grace.